I'm Courtney, I'm an entrepreneur. I also have ADHD. I also have a toddler, and we are currently expecting our second baby. That is the stage of life I'm in. In this video, I wanna share with you what is working for me right now as an entrepreneur with ADHD to organize and plan my days, given all the constraints that I have in this moment. I've done a lot of long form content in the past on my ADHD diagnosis and being pregnant with ADHD and being an entrepreneur with ADHD and tips and tricks and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna focus on all that backstory stuff in this video. I really just wanna share with you what is working for me right now, why it's working for me, and then you can kind of take and try what you want and leave the rest. This is by no means a prescriptive video telling you
these are the things that will work for anyone with ADHD. I know better than to know that that's gonna work.
But these are the things that are currently working for me right now, and I love just throwing those ideas out there, giving you some inspiration, and then maybe you can leave some comments and let me know if you have any other ideas for me based on what I'm gonna say in this video. Okay, the first thing that is working for me right now is embracing the constraints of my schedule. And I mean this in so many ways. I happen to have a toddler. I happen to be pregnant. So it's not just constraints of my schedule, it's constraints of my energy, it's constraints of my time, it's constraints in general, right? And I've really learned to embrace those constraints. I think they're good for everybody, but especially as an entrepreneur with ADHD, I find that having limitations on what I can do and when actually allows me to be more productive. Let me be more specific and give an example. So in January of 2024, my daughter was abruptly kicked out of daycare, which was my fault, not hers. And also, we didn't do anything wrong. It was a crazy situation. But I went from having 5 days a week full-time childcare to 0. And so I, found solutions to that, which was really hard and really stressful. That's not the point of this video. But what I did was I learned, okay, so now I went from working 5 days a week full-time to now I have 3 days or maybe 3.5 days a week to work. How am I going to adjust my schedule accordingly? And I'm gonna share some of the things that I'm doing right now in the other tips in this video. But the point of this first one is that I was like, look, I don't have a lot of energy. I don't have a lot of time. I've got to make the most of the time I have. And it forced me to simplify everything in my business. It forced me to say no to a lot of things, which I'm going to talk about later on. And it's forced me to get to a point where now I actually feel like I'm experiencing more freedom because of those constraints. At first it didn't feel like that, but now it does. So I have time to watch TV during the day and go with the flow and really embrace what my brain feels like doing. Whereas before I was overloaded with work. I had to schedule myself down to 15-minute increments, and it was stressing me the F out. The second thing that's working with me is so much more specific, hilariously more specific, is my husband is in charge of giving me my vitamins and meds every day. And I think I love the specificity of this one because it really speaks to the value of leaning on the people around you who can help you, noticing the things that you're struggling with. As somebody who's pregnant, it's really important for me to take my vitamins every day. I'm also currently still taking my ADHD meds. And while that can be very controversial in pregnancy, that's not the point. The point is I really need them right now or my brain is not functioning. And so I know that I needed to get help making sure I take all the stuff I need to take to be healthy and happy and well, because I wasn't doing it by myself and I was starting to crash and burn a little bit mentally. So it might not be vitamins and meds for you. It might be something else, but is there a tiny little pain point in your day or something that you're struggling to do that you could rely on someone else to do for you? And so that's a big one. Another example along the same lines of asking for help is we are now starting to outsource our laundry again. So we realized our laundry situation was just not working, and we're now having a company come once a week to do our laundry. And that's gonna be especially important because we're having a second child and we're gonna have so much laundry. So much laundry. Third thing that's working for me, way more business oriented, is Trello for project management. My fourth tip is gonna be around Trello as well, but it's gonna be a separate, more specific thing. Right now I wanna talk to you about why I'm using Trello for project management. And by the way, I am not advising you to switch from whatever platform you're on. I did platform hopping for like the last decade. And to be totally honest, I've only been on Trello for 2 or 3 months at this point. So there's still time for me to keep platform hopping when it comes to project management. But there's something about Trello that is really working for me. I don't know if it's the fact that it's so visual with the boards, that I've set up the different workflows, but when I had to let go of my operations manager last year, she was running all of our project management in Asana, and I took that over and I found it just utterly overwhelming. I needed a fresh start, but I just felt like in Asana, it was too left-brained. It was too like not visual. It was too not visual. It was not visual enough for me. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna take the plunge. I'm gonna try Trello. I looked at some videos and trainings on like how to set it up. It took me a bit. At first I regretted it, and then I figured out how to set it up for myself. And while it still has some functions that are missing that are kind of frustrating to me, all in all, I feel like there's something about the way that this is set up now that is finally working for my brain. So I will give you a little tour around how I have my Trello bases or boards or whatever they're called set up. Okay, number 4, Trello. Okay, this is my second Trello thing that's working for me. Using Trello to manage my week. All right. So here's what I do is I have a Trello board set up, and within that board, I have a column for every day of the week. And then when I plan my week, I just create cards or I move cards from other boards to assign those things to myself for the week. That's it. For some reason, this is working really brilliant for me. It's helping me to just have one place that I go to manage my week. It's helping me go, okay, well, if I did that thing, it's done. And if not, it needs to move somewhere else. And it just feels so much more flexible than something like Asana. I was really struggling to use Asana to plan my week. It was just like, these things are due, but I'm like, I wanted to be more creative with it. And so I really feel like this is striking the balance. The 5th thing that's really working for me, and this is really just piggybacking off of using Trello to manage my week, is I have a theme for every single day. It's not like a hard and fast rule, but it's allowing me to have a much better estimate about how much work I can take on and also when I'm gonna get certain things done. So I have Monday as my CEO day. This is when I do things that are more big picture planning. For example, earlier this week, I planned for the next quarter and I set goals and I reviewed targets and things like that. It's when I'm gonna go over like anything bigger picture, anything, a lot can fall into the CEO category, let's be honest. So that's what Mondays are. And I love to start my week out that day because I'm a big picture person and I wanna start off my week doing the thing that I do best. Tuesdays are my marketing day. Like right now, I'm filming this on a Tuesday. It's when I am going to research, script, plan YouTube videos, any other marketing content. You'll hear me talk about this in a bit, but YouTube is what I'm focused on right now, and I don't have time to do much else. But Tuesday is my day for all things marketing. Wednesday is my day with my daughter, and then I have that day sort of as a day to work behind the scenes on like my sales funnels right now. So when she goes down for her nap in the afternoon, I'll often work on, currently right now I'm building a sales funnel. Maybe if I have another bigger project I'm working on, it would be like a project-based afternoon, and then I spend the mornings with her. On Thursdays, that's my admin day, and this is when I'll do things like go over our books and go over like all the email that I probably haven't responded to for the last week or 2 or 3, and any other kind of like admin oriented tasks. And then Friday is kind of a free day for me. I don't work a lot on Friday. It's a little bit of a catch up. I don't have childcare on Fridays, so I kind of do what I can, but I don't schedule anything really important to happen on Fridays. Then what I did, this is so simple, is I just created a Google Doc where I put things I need to do every single day. So there are things I need to do every day, like check Slack, check my inbox, stuff like that. And then I made a small checklist for each of my theme days. So that's where I put anything that just has to happen every single week is just in a Google Doc. I didn't set a recurring task for it in Trello. I just have a Google Doc, and I just feel like that's so much more simple and less oppressive than putting this all in a project management system. The sixth thing that's worked for me, we're gonna talk about finances now, is using You Need a Budget to manage my business's budget. I also use You Need a Budget to manage my personal budget, which is how I got the idea to use it for my business's budget. And the only reason I started using You Need a Budget is because I was using Mint, and then Mint closed down and I had to find an alternative. And oh my God, I'm so happy because I am full on obsessed with You Need a Budget. So why is this working for me? Well, for me, as someone with ADHD, one of my Achilles heels is managing my finances. I'm good with numbers. I don't mind finances, but I forget about them.
They're boring, all that kind of stuff.
So I was having a hard time like really knowing and having awareness of how much money I have to spend, what that money is allocated towards, if I have enough money to do certain things. I genuinely didn't know, how do I know if I have enough money to invest in this program or get this software? I had no idea how to figure that out. So what I'm loving about You Need a Budget, and it is a whole like, it's not a cult, but it's like a whole thing, is like every single expense I have is in there. So I have every single piece of software we have, what it costs per month. And then as money comes into my business bank account, I allocate that money to those things so I can see what I have money set aside for and what I don't. I'm able to have a line item in there for planning for my maternity leave salary and expenses for the business and savings for tax savings. And so what it does is it's allocating a job to every single dollar that comes into my business, so that I'm not just looking at my bank account to go, oh, I have money for that, and then spending it, and then all of a sudden I get a tax bill or something else of that sort, or like an annual payment for software that I thought I was paying for monthly comes through and it's hundreds of dollars, and I'm like, oh, curses. So we break down those annual payments into monthly amounts in You Need a Budget, and that way I'm saving for those annual payments every single month. This has been an absolute game changer for me. It was kind of a pain in the ass for me to figure out how to use this system, but God, it was worth every single second, because in my business and my personal finances, I have never, ever in my life felt so on top of things for such a long amount of time, where it feels like a really sustainable system that I don't ever see myself not following. The seventh thing that's working for me is I hired my full-time VA, Rhoda. Hi, Rhoda. She's editing this video because she's a fantastic video editor, and hired her from the company Outsourced Doers. So Rhoda is based in the Philippines. Outsourced Doers, I'm like so impressed with this company. I did so much research on hiring a VA, hiring an overseas VA. Like I've had VAs from companies before. I really wanted to be smart, like I was saying in my last point, with my money, and making sure that I wasn't overspending on team, which is something I have chronically done in the past that I just can't seem to learn that lesson. And that ends up causing problems that like I can't pay myself, and I can't like do things in the business, right? And so what's been so great about this is that Outsourced Doers, they do such a good job of like hiring and vetting people and onboarding them and training them. And then that way I have Rhoda, who has all these amazing skills. She's fantastic, who's already been trained in so many online business things, and she's able to work for me full time. And that gives me so much of my time back. Right now, what we do is we have, and I'm gonna talk about this in a second, we have regular check-in meetings. And one of the things we ask each other is, a scale of 1 to 4, how full is your plate right now? Because I've found, as somebody with team members, it's so hard for me to gauge if somebody has like space to do more work or not. Like I had no idea how to figure that out. So what we do is every time we have one of these meetings, we do that. And so it used to be like she was at a 1, meaning like I've tons of time, and I was at a 4, meaning I've got negative time. And now we're getting so much closer to meeting in the middle. And so that's what we've been working on. And it has been absolutely fantastic to have somebody on my team who can do so many things. And they have like all these trainings, they have this Doers University, all of that. So I am not an affiliate. There's no affiliate links in this video, by the way. I just want to share from the heart the things that are working for me. And so far, like, this has been an absolute game-changing decision, and I'm so happy for it. And just knowing that you have someone that's there for you full time is like unbelievable. After a few months where I was all by myself in my business for the first time in 10 years, like, I was drowning. Like, I was really struggling. And so this is game changing for me. The thing I want to add about hiring, because I realize a lot of people, oh, that must be nice, or like, I don't have the money for that, etc. This is why in January of 2024, I intentionally broke my business. I pushed my business. I was only focused on sales. I broke everything else, meaning like my delivery sucked, meaning I was willing to like let clients down and let students down because I needed to get to a point where I could afford to bring someone else in so that I wouldn't be doing that anymore. I intentionally made it so I would be at a place where I had to hire someone. And I think so many people, they just sort of hesitate or sort of like stagnate at this level for so long of like doing things yourself. And I was like, no. I will never self-identify as like, this is my business, I do everything. I'm doing some of these tasks right now, but I was doing them with the intention of, okay, very soon someone else is going to be doing these things. And then I start offboarding all of that stuff. So it's not as expensive as you think it is. There's more solutions than you think. I think that's much more of a mindset shift than it is actually a financial objection. So I just wanted to share that a little bit. All right, thing number 8, which I just mentioned a little bit about, is that Rhoda and I have almost daily check-in meetings. I learned this process from Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time. Absolutely excellent book. So highly recommended. Cannot say enough good things about this process. And that's really how I've been designing how I'm outsourcing and getting things off of my plate, and why I decided to hire in the way that I did. So one of the things he talks about is these check-in meetings. I don't know that he calls them check-in meetings. I call them check-in meetings. And we do them on the days that I'm working. So we do them on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And we do it, in the morning. And we just have this quick little agenda we go over. So we go over, are there any tasks that I need to hand off to Rhoda and tell her about? We go over my calendar for the upcoming week. What appointments do I have? Because that's something ADHD. I used to just drop the ball on appointments because I just would not carefully look through my calendar and I would forget things. So we go through my calendar on Mondays and Thursdays. On Mondays, we go over my calendar for the current week. On Thursdays, we go over my calendar for the following week. And then, so there's twice a week where I'm going over my calendar with Rhoda to make sure that I know everything that I'm supposed to do that day. I still forget things, but it's helping so much. Then we'll do a feedback loop on projects. So what this means is, Rhoda will update me on the status of any project she's working on. I'll update her on the status of any projects I'm working on. Then I believe we go through our email inboxes. So our email inboxes are set up using the process that Dan Martell teaches inside of Buy Back Your Time. But we have these filters in our inbox, and we have 2 inboxes. One is my personal inbox, one is our customer service. They have the same filters in them. And this way, when Rhoda goes through every day and she's triaging the email into these labels, she will go on our check-in meetings and let me know if there's emails that she thinks she should be able to respond to, but she doesn't know how. She'll like follow up with me on that meeting. Like, okay, I just need this information from you, or how do you want me to respond to that? And that way I'm able to give her that information at that meeting, and it doesn't create this whole like back and forth in Slack and stuff like that. Finally, what we do is what I mentioned a minute ago is we check in with each other on how full our plates are. So number 1 is I've got tons of time. 2 is like I have more time, but I'm like I have work. 3 is I'm full, and 4 is I'm overwhelmed. And so that has been, I kind of invented that one. That did not come from Dan Martell's book. And we adjusted these meetings a little bit based on what our needs are and what's working for us. But that has been so helpful because I can start to see that bridge, that gap, having the bridge in the gap. There's a bridge building in the gap between, it was like Rhoda's like, I need more work, please give me more. And I'm like, I have so much, but it's so hard to hand it to you because I need to like figure out what to hand to you. To now we're getting closer and closer together. And then hopefully we'll both get to a point where we're at like a 2.5. That's what we do in our daily check-ins. We were just saying today, I was like, these meetings help me so much because for my ADHD brain, it helps me get my head in the game for the day. It helps me to remember what I need to work on. And make sure that like we're interacting and on the same page. And she was like, yes, me too. Like, I love having these meetings. So that has been a game changer. If you have someone on your team, like a VA, somebody who helps you out with that kind of stuff, having 15 minutes, that's all it takes. We take 15 minutes for these meetings is really super helpful. Let's talk about the 9th thing that's helping me out. And this one's really essential, but it's kind of a big thing to bite off in this video, just as like one point amongst many, is how do you even know what work you should be doing in a day? I think this is something I struggled with for the last year because I've blew up my business model a year ago and I've spent the last year figuring out what is it that I'm trying to build, and now we're really deep in the building stages at this moment, at the time of this recording. What happened was, I think I was doing something and then it wouldn't work and I have to change it. I had to keep changing what I was focusing on. So that was really hard and that I really did not enjoy, but we got through it and it was necessary. At this point, we're still building, we're creating the foundations of this business model, but I have targets for what I want to hit. I have an idea, I have a vision of where we're going, and I'm more confident than ever that this is what we're sticking to. This is like, I'm not going to be changing my mind. So what I do is I make sure that I'm looking ahead to, all right, what is it that I want to achieve in the next year, in the next quarter, so that I'll hit that target in the next year, and I reverse engineer those goals. So I reverse engineer from the revenue, top line revenue, and then to, okay, how many sales would we have to make to hit that revenue, and then to like what marketing would we have to do in order to make those sales. That's the really simplified version. I don't pick revenue numbers out of thin air. Of course, I have goals and big numbers I'd love to hit, but what I do is I look at what are all the expenses in my business, how much do I need to pay myself in my salary, and how much money does the business need to be able to make in order to cover all those expenses, including saving for taxes, etc. And then from there, we create the revenue goal, and then from there, the sales goal and the marketing goal. And then I always make them conservative. I'll always say, like, if my calculation is we need to make $17,000 a month, then I'll round it up to 20 or even 25 as like a higher target. And then I'll go for that higher target because then I know I'm way more likely to hit the number that I actually need to hit. And I love pushing myself to do more. I find a lot of joy out of that. So by reverse engineering my goals, I'm able to get to, all right, if that's the number of sales we need to make from each offer, and this is the marketing we're doing, what is it I need to do in order to like implement that marketing? Then that's the work that I need to be doing every single week. And so if I am doing any kind of work and it is not something that is directly or like almost directly leading to a goal, I need to make sure that I'm not doing busy work. So for example, Instagram is just kind of off the plate for me right now. I have a company that's creating reels for us every single week that you'll see going out, but I'm not spending a lot of time on Instagram. I'm not really hanging out on Instagram that much right now either. I'm focused on YouTube. I'm all in on one thing. I'm focused on building the funnels that we're building. I know what the goals are, and it's tempting to want to do these other things. But like I said, I'm embracing the constraints of my time and my other resources, and that's just how it has to be right now. That brings me to the 10th thing that's working for me, which is going all in on one type of marketing. And for me, you're watching it, it's YouTube. So I'm spending all of my marketing day on Tuesday is all about YouTube. It's so much easier to know, like, If I'm not doing well on YouTube, then that's what I need to figure out. I don't hop onto another marketing thing. I'm not worried about anything else. So I'm all in on one marketing platform. It's allowing me time to really explore and learn, like, how can I do better, to look at those analytics and really gamify it and see it as a fun game. I won't dive too much into this one because I think that this is a point that a lot of people talk about, but I really urge you to choose one marketing platform, what you think could be the platform you go all in on, and I want you to go all in on it. And that doesn't mean when it gets hard, you do something else. It means you double down when it gets hard and you keep sticking with it. The 11th thing that's working for me is no meetings, essentially. Basically, no meetings, except for meetings with my VA Rhoda and with my Mastermind every other Monday. I am saying no to all meetings. I made the very, very, very difficult decision to stop doing all one-on-one client work this year. That took away all of my revenue, more or less, but I knew that I didn't have time to implement that, let alone figure out the business model that was gonna replace that if I was spending time on one-on-one calls. This has made my day feel so much more open and creative, which is so good for my ADHD brain. And God, I'm just loving it. Like, I didn't realize how many meetings I had and how much I was disliking it and how much anxiety it was giving to me until I cut so far back on the meetings. So the only meetings I have are those daily meetings with Rhoda or maybe monthly planning meetings. And then every Tuesday we have a YouTube meeting where we go over, making sure we have everything ready for the YouTube video going out that Thursday, but that's it. Thing number 12 that's working for me is so similar, but I'm just basically saying no to everything, including, and this is very important, things I want to do. What I had to get really focused on this year was, what am I gonna give my time to? And I'm giving my time to my family and my finances. Those are the things that were the most important for me to focus on this year. And so once you decide to focus on something, you're gonna get tested, you're gonna have opportunities to do other things. And I have been invited to lunches, I've been invited to collaborate with people, invited on podcast interviews, invited to do summits, invited to speak, do all kinds of things. And I've had to say no. I had to say no because in order to be in integrity with what I'm trying to do right now, and again, remember, I'm preparing for a baby, right? So I just don't have time to sign up for a bunch of stuff. I need to create more space in my schedule. I need to simplify my business. I'm not creating a bunch of offers. I'm not creating a bunch of opt-ins. We're making everything very simple and very streamlined. Oh, it feels so good. That requires that I say no. So if you've reached out to me and wanted to book a call, and like maybe we're friends even, like I've had people reach out, they're like, how are you? We should chat. I'm like, no, I love you so much, but I just have to be so ruthless about my time right now. And that's just how it is for this season in my life. I'm sure I'll get to another season in my life sometime in the future where that's not the case. It was really hard for me to transition out of my mode coming into 2024, which was like collaborations, interviews, JV webinars, like all that kind of stuff, to podcast interviews, to none of that. Like that was the strategy I was gonna do going into this year. And then I had to shift when we lost our daycare, and now I'm all in on YouTube, which has been such a blessing because it's going to be obviously upfront work, but YouTube is the gift that keeps on giving. It just grows and grows over time. It's such a great return on your investment to build a YouTube channel. And I love conferences, I love events. My second business is an event-based business, but I just had to say no. And that's included really pulling back on that second business as well, which fortunately my business partner and I are totally in alignment about. We will have to get back to building that business when we both feel like we have the capacity to do it. And for me, that's gonna require that my business is in a place where it's not requiring me all the time. So that's it. That's my final tip for you, and the thing that's working for me as an entrepreneur with ADHD. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, I'd love for you to leave a comment. Let me know what's working for you, because I'm like, ADHDers are so creative. We come up with the best hacks and ideas for how to do stuff. And of course, it's not gonna work for everyone, but we can kind of take a grain of what's working for each other and then create our own version. So let me know in a comment below, and just know, like, solidarity, we've gotta have each other's backs, and thank you so much for joining me for this video.